Hey everyone, welcome back. Quick note before we dive in. The voice you're hearing is AI generated. I find it gives a cleaner listen than my own voice, so hopefully you'll agree. Today, we're going to do a full walkthrough of the Voxglitch Effect Bank module for VCV Rack. It's a multi-effect preset module. Although it has a large number of presets, each is fully editable. You can rearrange the effect stack, swap effects in and out, edit modulators, rewire the routing matrix, all from the front panel without leaving the patch. We're going to walk through the whole module today. Let's start from scratch. I've just added Effects Bank to an empty VCV rack patch. To get the module running, you need to do three things. Connect an audio source, connect the outputs, and turn the mix knob up so you can hear the processed signal. This module excels at clock synchronized effects, so let's provide a clock input as well. I've got a drum loop running through it right now. Let's play it dry first. And now let me bring up the mix knob. The module ships with over 50 editable presets and over 50 different core effects. Let me show you how to scan through them. The preset knob on the right side cycles through every preset in the bank. Notice that switching presets is smooth. The module crossfades between voices internally, so you don't get clicks or pops when you switch between them. You can even modulate the preset selection with CV. Right above the preset CV input is a little attenuverter, so you can scale how much CV affects the position or invert it. Audio inputs and outputs are on the left. If you only patch the L input, the right channel mirrors it, so a mono source is fine. Below the inputs, there's a gate input. By default, with nothing patched, the preset is always running. Audio is processed continuously, but if you patch a gate signal in, the preset behaves like a synth voice. A rising edge fires any envelopes, ADSR modulators start their attack, sequence modulators reset to step 0. A falling edge releases the ADSR and fades the wet signal out, so you can use the gate to make the effect only happen during specific notes or beats. Back to the right side of the panel. The mix knob is the master mix between the unprocessed input and the processed output. By default, it's a crossfade. At 0%, you hear pure dry. At 100%, you hear pure wet. And anywhere in between is a mix. There's also a parallel mode that you can switch to from the right-click context menu. In parallel mode, the dry signal stays at full volume, and the wet signal is added on top. So at 100% in parallel mode, you're hearing dry plus wet stacked together. It's the right setting if you're treating Effects Bank as a wet send. The mix CV input lets you control the wet and dry mix with a CV signal, and there's an attenuverter under it for scaling. Below the preset knob are clock and reset inputs. Many effects in this module are tempo synced. They need a clock signal to lock to your tempo. At the top of the screen is a little 16-step LED clock indicator. It advances on each clock pulse and wraps every 16 beats. The reset input next to the clock restarts all clock-based features. If you don't patch a clock at all, the sync effects fall back to 120 BPM internally. Down at the bottom right, there are two more CV inputs labeled CV1 and CV2. These are bipolar control signals that the routing system uses. Different presets wire CV1 and CV2 to different things. One preset might use CV1 for filter cutoff and CV2 for feedback. Another might use CV1 for delay time and CV2 for wet level. The routing happens inside each preset. Right next to the CV1 and CV2 inputs is an XY performance pad. The pad is a touch controller for CV1 and CV2. Drag inside the pad, and you're sending continuous values into the routing system. Right-clicking inside the pad opens a context menu with two performance options. The first one is latch position on release. Normally, when you let go of the pad, the position snaps back to whatever the external CV inputs are doing. With latch on, it stays where you released it. So you can dial in a position, let go, and it holds there. The second option controls if interacting with the pad overrides the CV inputs. By default, the pad overrides the external CV inputs while you're dragging. By enabling the sum option, the pad and CV input values are summed. Alright, let's dig into the main interactive screen. The screen has two primary pages. The main view shows you everything that's in the active preset at a glance. The edit page lets you edit the preset. The main page shows the preset number and name, the current patch's effect stack, modulators, and routing information. Clicking on either an effect or modulator brings you to the edit screen. The routing matrix at the bottom is just a visual reference. Click an effect tile in the stack, and you drop into the editor focused on that effect. Click a modulator card, and you focus on that modulator. The editor has three columns. On the left is a rail listing the full effect stack and the 4 modulator slots. The center column is the detail view for whatever you've selected, and the right column is the root editor, which shows up when you've selected an effect. There's a back button at the top left of the screen. Hit it to go back to viewer mode. You can also press Escape on your keyboard. The left rail shows you everything in the preset. It's worth noting that audio always passes through each effect in order from top to bottom. Click any row to switch which target you're editing. The selected row highlights in orange. When an effect is selected, the center column shows its parameter sliders. Every effect has 2 named parameters, plus a mix slider at the bottom. Click and drag to adjust. Click anywhere on the slider track to jump to a value. Double-click to reset the parameter to its default. The parameter values are normalized 0 to 1, but each effect maps that to its own range internally. Some use exponential mapping for time and frequency, so you get fine resolution at the low end. Some snap to musical values like clock divisions or scale degrees. Each effect has a per effect, wet-dry blend, and it's separate from the master mix knob. At 0% mix, the effect is bypassed. Dry passes straight through to the next effect in the stack. At 100% mix, the effect is fully wet. This is really useful. You can dial in or dial out a single effect at a time without changing the master mix. And the per effect mix is route targetable just like any other parameter, so you can modulate it with an LFO or external CV. Let's add an effect to the stack. Right-click an empty slot in the rail, and you get a context menu with options to add, change, remove, move up, move down. When you choose Add, a picker overlay covers the screen. The picker is organized into categories: filter, drive, delay, reverb, pitch, looper, slice, gate, reverse, spectral, texture, utility. There's a search field at the top, so you can filter by name. Click any effect to add it to the stack and close the picker. If you change your mind, hit Escape. To swap an existing effect for a different one, right-click it and choose Change Effect. Same picker comes up. You can also hit Delete on the keyboard to remove the selected effect. You can also drag effects to reorder them. See the grip strip along the top edge of each tile in the viewer. Click and hold there, then drag horizontally. The other tiles will reflow to make room for the dropped effect. In the editor, you can also grab the rail rows by their grip handles to reorder vertically. Let's switch over to a modulator. Click one of the M1 through M4 rows in the rail. The center column changes to show that modulator's editor. The interface depends on the modulator type. For example, for an LFO, you get a live waveform display with a playhead, a button to cycle through shapes, a sync toggle to lock to the clock, a rate slider in free mode, or a division box in synced mode, and a phase knob. Each modulation source has its own user interface for editing the signal. Adding a modulator works exactly like adding an effect. Click on an empty modulator slot to select one to add. You can replace or remove an existing modulator by right-clicking on it. Let's wire a modulator to an effect parameter. When you've got an effect selected in the rail, the right column shows the root editor for the parameter you're focused on. Pick which parameter you wish to modulate by clicking on its name in the center column. The root editor shows every modulation source available in the preset, which are control voltage inputs CV1 and CV2, followed by modulation sources M1 through M4. Each row has a bipolar depth slider centered at 0. Drag right for positive depth, drag left for negative. Double-click on it to reset it to 0. Once you've built a preset you like, you can save it. Right-click the module, and you'll see options for the currently selected preset slot. Generally speaking, you may never need this feature because preset edits are saved with your VCV rack patch automatically. That covers Effects Bank. We went through the panel, the presets, the gate behavior, the clock, the XY pad, the screen in viewer mode, the screen in editor mode, adding and editing effects, adding and editing modulators, setting up routes, per effect mix, and saving presets. If you have questions, drop them in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.